Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakran. Taking a look at some of the top stories that we are following right now, there is a shooting investigation underway at a College Park MARTA station this morning. And, it's just minutes from the Atlanta airport. And MARTA police tell us an officer was involved in this overnight shooting. It is a developing story that we continue to follow. So details are very limited right now. We do know the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is on scene looking into what happened. But again, a MARTA officer was involved in a shooting, according to police. It happened overnight at the College Park MARTA station, just minutes from the Atlanta airport. We're going to continue to follow the latest there and bring you up to date with any new developments. Also, we continue to follow the aftermath of that massive fire at a facility in Conyers. And it's now been over a week since that fire broke out at the biolab facility. Right now, nightly shelter-in-place orders do remain in effect east of Atlanta. Rockdale County schools will not have class on campus today. They're going to be held virtually through Wednesday. In Conyers, chemical clouds continue to cause a lot of frustration and concern for thousands of people who have had to evacuate or shelter in place this week. Atlanta News First, Blake Devine has more.
It's been 7 days since Jackie Moore watched this plume of smoke pour out of the biolab facility in Conyers.
I saw the plumes right there and had to call in help to get the horses evacuated because as soon as I came out on the deck, I could smell the chlorine.
This black and burned debris was scattered all throughout her property until workers with GHD, hired by Kit Consumer Products, Biolab's parent company, came to clean it up this weekend.
They're not telling us, and they're being very secretive. I'm suspicious that it's something toxic.
Over at the Georgia State Capitol, a group of activists hope to put pressure on politicians Sunday, calling for a shutdown of the biolab plant.
It's been 3 times over 20 years. It's too many times. This happening once is too many times. Biolab needs to be shut down.
Throughout Rockdale County, another shelter-in-place warning based on findings from the Environmental Protection Agency. Although locals like Moore feel left in the dark.
Are we safe? Is this going to contaminate our soil? Are we all going to get cancer from this?
Blake Devine, Atlanta News First.
So many concerns there. We're going to continue to follow that story. Also, really want to let you know that today is the very last day for you to register to vote or update your registration here in Georgia. Atlanta News First reporter Chelsea Beinpour is outside the Fulton County Government Center with more on what you need to know.
If you live in another metro Atlanta county, you can also register at your own local board of elections. You can also register to vote online as long as you have a valid Georgia driver's license. Or you can also do a mail-in application as long as it's postmarked by today, October 7th. A large civil rights coalition also is calling on Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to extend the voter registration deadline by at least 1 week following a chemical fire in Rockdale County and Hurricane Helene, which impacted many Georgia communities. Raffensperger says, though, at this point, all elections offices are prepared.
But I know that we had in one county, Jenkins County, blew out the windows in the voting county election office, but the machines were fine. But we do have additional equipment in reserve.
That civil rights coalition argues that those recent disasters could prevent people from being able to register to vote on time. At this point, though, no plans have been announced to extend that deadline. Reporting from the Fulton County Government Center, Chelsea Beinpour, Atlanta News First.
All right, let's turn now to First Alert Weather with First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris. And I know now you are keeping an eye on yet another hurricane.
Yes, we are indeed, Joy. So that is Hurricane Milton that you see on your screen right now. Remarkable situation here that's happening in the southern Gulf of Mexico. What I mean by remarkable is not good. The winds in Milton, when we first got to work, First Alert meteorologist Ella Dorsey and I, the winds were at 90 miles per hour. They have increased to 150 miles per hour in a very short period of time. So Milton now a Category 4 major hurricane in the southern Gulf of Mexico. This will not impact us here in North Georgia, but for our friends further south in Florida, specifically along the west coast of Florida, this is definitely going to be an issue for them. So that's what we're tracking right now. Again, we are looking at Hurricane Milton with 150 mile per hour winds, and I can't stress enough how fast Milton has intensified in the southern Gulf of Mexico. And so we are not, it's not impossible that Milton becomes a Category 5 hurricane before this is all said and done. So the latest 150 mile per hour winds, it's moving toward the east-southeast. Again, in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. I want to show you the forecast track, and this forecast track is as of right now, which is we're currently looking at 10:05 in the morning. I will say the National Hurricane Center is already preparing a new track, so this track will change almost certainly with the intensity of Milton over the next hour or so. So we're going to come back on and make sure that we give you an updated track after 11 a.m. once that comes in. But as of now, the general idea is for Milton to remain a major hurricane as it tracks through the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to eventually turn up toward the northeast and head toward Florida. This will be by early Wednesday morning. It will approach Florida as a major hurricane anywhere from Tampa to Fort Myers. Landfall is expected Wednesday evening at some point, again, between Tampa and Fort Myers as a major Category 3 or 4 hurricane. That updated information on the strength will happen after 11 a.m. Once it makes landfall or as it approaches the Florida coast, this is going to be super important. So there's going to be a flooding situation for sure through much of Florida. The storm surge will also be significant. Where the highest storm surge will be will depend on exactly where Milton tracks. Right now, that track is south of Tampa, which means that the worst storm surge will also be south of Tampa, to the south or to the right of the storm, closer to Sarasota or Fort Myers. If the track is a little bit further north, then Tampa will be a bit more in the gun for higher storm surge. So the actual exact track of Milton will be important in determining exactly where that highest storm surge sets up. But either way, between Tampa and Fort Myers, that's where the biggest impact will certainly be. In addition to that storm surge, significant flooding is expected in addition to strong winds. So that is the situation with Milton. I do want to point out for us in North Georgia, will not impact us in North Georgia. We've had a lot of questions, people asking us, how is this storm starting in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico and tracking all the way over into Florida? The reason why the meteorological term is an upper level trough, but to simplify it for you, is because of that cold front that you see on your screen. That's the same cold front that's moving through North Georgia today. It's going to cool us off this week. These cold fronts are like magnets to tropical cyclones. So as the cold front moves south, it's going to help to kind of pull Milton toward Florida. They're basically going to meet in Florida. So that's why Milton is going to race toward Florida. It's basically following that cool front. And it's the same cold front that will help to turn Milton away from North Georgia, which is why we won't see any impacts here. Now, if you're traveling further south, South Georgia will get the outer bands from Milton. And we'll notice cloud cover even as far north as Central Georgia. But for North Georgia, for us here in Metro Atlanta, we're simply not expecting any impacts from Milton. But we'll keep you up to date on our friends further south. Again, landfall will be between Tampa Bay and Fort Myers Wednesday evening as a major hurricane. Closer to home, talked about that cold front. It's moving through today, so we won't actually feel the cooler temperatures today. Our high is 87 degrees this afternoon, so it's nearly 90 degrees, pretty hot later on today for North Georgia. And then that front moving in will feel those temperatures by Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning's low in Atlanta is 63, maybe some upper 50s in the northern suburbs. By Tuesday afternoon, 80 degrees. Wednesday morning, 59. The temperatures will be felt the most in the mornings over the next week. So 59 Wednesday morning in Atlanta, 57 Thursday morning, 53 Friday morning, 52 Saturday morning. Getting into Friday morning and Saturday morning, not impossible to see some upper 40s in the northern suburbs and then the mountains. So basically getting cooler and cooler throughout the week in the mornings and even in the afternoons. It'll be really nice. Instead of that 87 that we'll see today, starting Tuesday, we're up to 80, and then Wednesday and beyond highs will be in the 70s. The same cold front will bring a lot of dry air into North Georgia, so absolutely no rain in your 7-day forecast at all, no first alerts or anything like that. So the story for us in North Georgia will be dry weather and cooler temperatures throughout the week, but as we go further south, the story will be Hurricane Milton. And we're going to keep you up to date on Milton. I just want to kind of remind everybody, give you one more update before we go. Winds in Milton right now at 150 miles per hour, a strong Category 4 hurricane, very close to a Cat 5 right now. We are forecasting it to become a Cat 5 at some point as it's tracking through the southern Gulf of Mexico, making landfall as a major hurricane along the middle Florida coast between Tampa and Fort Myers Wednesday evening. A catastrophic situation potentially for our friends further south in Florida. So we'll keep you up to date on Milton. Again, a new advisory will come out at 11 o'clock this morning, so we'll make sure and get you that information right away. And the First Alert Weather app. We'll also have more on your forecast closer to home on Atlanta News First at noon and also in that app. We'll keep you up to date. Hope you guys have a great Monday. Until next time, we'll see you soon.